I'm getting in there, Bill. I'm getting in there now. Oh, God, please don't let. Please no trolls.
Okay, there we are. We live. We live, yes. So anyhow, welcome back to another nice show, I guess, for anybody that's out here. Right now, we got nobody in here, but we will have. So also, welcome back anyhow. I got Anna here with me.
G'day, g'day, g'day.
Yep, Anna's here with me, and Jerry's here with me. So
Yeah.
here we are live up on YouTube again, okay? We'll try not to be censored tonight by talking about things like racism. Okay, so maybe we'll just talk about codependency. I think that's a good spot to start.
Codependency. You know, I once went to a Codependence Anonymous meeting. Well, I was going to go, but I didn't have anyone to go with. Okay, thanks.
That was good.
Thank you. Yeah.
Well, I guess you took care of that codependency problem immediately, didn't you?
But I know a lot about codependency because I happen to be, or in my relationships, I was very codependent, which I didn't know at the time, but I definitely recognize it now. Definitely.
Well, you know, unfortunately, the sad part of life is there's a lot of people in relationships that become so codependent on their partner.
Mm.
And then if something happens to that partner, they don't know how to take care of themselves, or they just can't live no more.
Mm.
And they become suicidal, and they do crazy things because they fail to understand that a relationship is not built on being dependent on somebody else.
What will happen is when you become dependent on somebody else, whether that's financially or emotionally, the person who is dependent upon will become very resentful and feel like they're being smothered. And yeah, and the person who is depending on the other will also become resentful because they are never going to get the attention, you know, that they felt they needed, or, you know, they never feel like they're needed enough, or, you know, blah, blah. And, you know, that's programmed too, Bill, because you think of the songs we had, you know, like, I can't live if living is without you. Or, you know, all those songs, I'm going to kill myself unless you, unless you love
stick
me.
to the jokes.
It is. It is, you know, and people fall into this realm of thinking it's like a person who says, I can't live without sex. I can't do it. I can't live without sex. Well, if you can't live without sex, I wonder how you got here. I haven't went to a funeral yet where I've
Even
seen
the
anybody.
Pope can't do that, apparently.
Well, yeah, you know, but I have yet to go to a funeral where somebody died from lack of. I just haven't been to a funeral where cause of death is didn't get dick in hall. Didn't get to put dick in hall. That didn't cause no death. But see, people think that they can't live without. They can't live without. And well, codependency is the same thing. If you depend on somebody financially or emotionally for your happiness, you're going to smother the relationship, and you're going to have what, fake happiness, because you're not going to be happy.
Yeah, yeah. And I think the goal, the ideal is interdependence, where you can still be your own person and have, you know, your partner is still their own person. And, you know, that's a much healthier, that's a relationship right there.
Well, yeah, and a relationship to be successful starts off with a friendship, not the friend zone. There's no such thing as a friend zone. That's all engineering.
Can you explain what a friend zone is? Because I'm not real clear on that particular piece of terminology.
Unfortunately, a friend zone is today's conditioning. It's been going on for a long time now, where the woman wants to be nothing more than a friend to the guy she meets,
Right.
Okay. And
Yeah.
meanwhile, she runs out and she's got another boyfriend that she's going to bed with that she marries,
Mm.
that she'll be with. Okay. So what's happened is because of this behavior from
Mm.
social conditioning, the engineering, you got a whole bunch of women that if they tell you I just want to be a friend,
Mm.
they will never go any further than calling you once every 6 months or once a year or once every 5 years if they need something because you're not good enough to be with.
Hmm.
This is the
And you
friend
know,
zone.
I mean, I've always, kicked that friend zone thing right out, and I mean, it's got to be from the, right up front. They try to, well, I just want to be friends or whatever like this. So I understand that, and I enjoy being friends with you, but you got
Hmm.
to understand, you're a beautiful woman. Blah blah blah. You know what? If this ain't gonna build to something, it's not that I don't want friends, but I got friends. Take a hike. I mean, it's
Mm.
got to be done up front from like that. And I know sometimes it's tough, and people want to hang on to just being friends because I think they think it's something. But no, I mean, she's gonna have more respect for you if you stand up and say no. And if she doesn't have the respect for you for doing that, it's probably not somebody that you want anyways.
Right.
I
Right.
have to
It's
agree with
somebody that's
that.
just gonna take advantage of you or whatever. So you got to kind of say, the tough part is, I think there's so many people out there that they get stuck in the thing in a rut where they want something so bad when they have a chance, they don't say no, even when they should say no.
Mm.
You know.
That's it. That's it. And first off, what Jerry said would be accurately correct. Nip it in the ass from the very beginning because the social engineering is wrong about that anyhow. Because, first off, if you ever want a successful relationship and that's what you're after, it starts with being friends. So there is literally no such thing as a friend zone because if you cannot become friends first, you could never ever have a successful relationship with each other to begin with.
And I'll tell you something. I have really really great male friends. It's like this one guy. He's back in Australia, and we've been friends for about 30 years. And I think it started like we both were kind of flirty, but I was in a relationship at that time. He wasn't. Then he was in a relationship when I wasn't, and it just evolved into this friendship. And he's married to this woman he absolutely adores. They've got children, and she's my friend also, his wife. And there's no kind of little sex undercurrent there. It's a very honest friendship. But he's known me long enough that if I have had this happen where I've run aground in a relationship, and I will turn to him and say, okay, give me the guy take on this because something's going on and I'm not seeing this right, and he'll call it, and he's pretty blunt, whereas my female friends will do a lot of analyzing, and some, yeah, but he's really blunt. And I kind of like that. He's just going to call it as he sees it, so I can see it from a male perspective. And then if I want, I go to my female friends if I need some validation, I guess.
Well, you
Um,
can't throw out the opposite gender as friends either.
mm,
And one of the best ways to distinguish between whether it's something that a person's going to want the other person to turn it into something romantic or not
mm,
is swearing. I mean, if you're not watching your mouth or how you say things or how you do things around the opposite sex, and you're just saying, "Hey, look at that bitch" or whatever, and you guys can just, you can laugh about and build that kind of thing where it's not caring about that, and saying, "Oh, I don't care about that" is usually bullshit if you're watching your p's and q's.
yeah,
If you go come
yourself.
out and like laugh at some person that walks down the street because they're doing something weird or whatever, and just sit there and look at that asshole or that idiot or whatever, and you could be nonchalant about it, that's more of a sign that there could actually be a friendship there versus
Yeah.
you know watching everything you say and
Yeah.
doing everything just right around that other person.
Do not
That's
fart.
showing that you
Do
care
not
more than
fart,
something.
or this romance is over. I cannot fart it. Yeah.
Well, people got to be careful with that because you shouldn't
Well,
have to
careful with farting.
but you shouldn't have to walk on eggs to be around somebody because you're so concerned.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I mean,
But at
that's
the
how
same
you
time,
know
you're
that
not
it's
going to
not
net
something.
flip on the first date, you know.
I mean, I'm clumsy. You want me to walk on eggs, and you're gonna have scrambled eggs with the shell in it. Because I'm not walking on eggs for you. I'm not gonna watch my P's and Q's. I'm gonna be myself. I'm not gonna disrespect you, and I'm not gonna let you disrespect me. But I am
And
gonna be
it's really,
myself, and I'm not gonna change for you because I'm not gonna expect you to change for me. You're gonna like me for who I am, or you see that door right there? Don't let it hit you in the ass on the way out. Because I'm going to like you for who you are, not who I want you to be. But we have a society where people think, well, but I want him, you know. If you ever listen to some of these women that are interviewed, why they want the bad boy. And all these women will tell you the same reason they chase after the bad boy. It's the challenge.
you know what we should do? We should actually read some of the dating profiles. We should do that one show.
Yeah, we might do that one show, guy. I know I've seen quite a few interviews with women, and they're asked a simple question, why it is they chase after the bad boy. And all of these women come up with the same answer. It's the challenge. It's the challenge to change them.
The woman that chases after the bad boy, sometimes you got to watch out for her. She's chasing after the bad boy because there's something wrong with her, and that's why the good one doesn't take her.
And the chasing.
I hate to say it, but you got to call a spade a spade. That's what it is a lot of times.
And here's the
these
other
women that are constantly chasing after bad boys sometimes may have an inferior complex, and there might be something wrong with them because if they were perfect, they wouldn't be always chasing after something that would be bad for them.
Right. And here's the other thing, the other part to that. When you're chasing after a bad boy or you end up with a bad boy and you think that you're going to change them, what happens is they remain being bad, but you have the advantage of looking like a saint by comparison to this incredibly bad person. You look like, oh my God, you look fantastic. So you get a lot of attention and sympathy and
oh, poor me.
That's
poor me. Oh, yep,
that's part of that dynamic.
It is.
How do I know I was in it?
But you know what? Jerry said that right, and Ron is, But Jerry said it right. When it comes to the bad boys, and it comes to women in general that want bad boys, I'd have to say forget them because they want to change anyhow. They're going after an image, and their idea is it's the challenge to change the person. And if they got to have the challenge to change you, well, just think what happens when they change you. Now they perceive you as weak, and they're going to throw you away anyhow. And if they can't change you, what, do you love drama?
I think if we analyze the subconscious of somebody that chases somebody that is the bad boy or bad girl, even though it's something that they may think they can change or whatever else, the true reason behind it in their subconscious is because their life has probably been a disaster, and their subconscious is going to go along with choosing something that is a failure or they know will be a failure.
Yeah.
Hey, Anna.
Sabotage.
Anna. Is there
I keep thinking about the other part too. So I keep thinking, remember that musical Grease?
Yeah, I was like, no, it's not. I don't. I mean, come on, that's for girls.
That was part of the program, but it was the bad boy. Good girl goes after the bad boy, and
how could they? None of the men were, and then that thing were men.
Well,
some of the women were a bit suspect too.
Well, I do have to say, I had to agree with Jerry. Grease, the movie Grease, that was really directed towards the female gender.
It was.
Maybe some gay guys liked it,
But she
No,
didn't
who had
change
to go?
it.
Do you
She
remember
became
Shannon?
bad.
Do
She
you remember
became
Shannon?
bad. What
Bill?
happened there? Yeah.
Do you remember Shannon and Bowser? Bow, 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 bow. You don't remember
Yeah,
that?
yeah.
I remember that. That guy was fairly cool for one of those old greasers.
Yeah. Yeah.
What about guys? What do you think, Anna? Do you think guys should be chasing after the bad girl?
Well, I think some of them do. I think the codependent ones do for exactly the same reason. They do the saver hoe. They're going for
No,
Captain
I
Saver hoe.
chase after the bad girls because I know they're going to be a failure, and that way I don't have to really worry about a long-term relationship. But then again, I mean, the problem. Here's the problem: the good girls, oftentimes the good girls, the little princesses, Catholic Church girls,
Yep.
they tend to be better in bed. But the problem is they want the long-term relationship. Somehow these girls need to switch their roles or something. That's
Yeah. Oh my God. Yep. You're right. I'm trying to think of the. Oh God.
We have the Apple fan kid here. Most women
Huh?
who I was looking at her commenter here, the Apple fan kid. Most women
who go for the bad boys have daddy issues and come from broken homes. Oh, okay.
I could go along with part of that. I could see some of that.
I haven't seen any statistics on that one. Daddy issues at home.
Well, you got to remember, I mean, because he's on the trail of some of the understanding of the psychology of it. When it comes to men, when it comes to females, females' development is it's more important for the man to be more involved during the ages of 1.5 to 7.
Mm.
So, a lot of times some of those could come from daddy issues. And trust me, daddy issues is a growth industry with so many, broken families they have these days, and fathers that are just not there.
Is so underestimated it's such an important role for men, for the sons and daughters. Yeah, absolutely.
So it's a growth industry, and that's a problem.
Daddy issues come from broken home. Yeah, because there's a whole how do I call it? A whole bunch of women, a section of women that I know of, who tend to have gone for the bad boys, continue to go for the bad boys because that's the way they're programmed. And you're right, they have had fathers who've gone to prison or fathers who have been the bad boys, so they're just kind of trying to repeat that pattern because subconsciously they're trying to heal something, they're trying to get something they never had when they were little girls. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And I imagine it would be the same for men, the other way around.
Yep. What do you think about women who are strippers?
Strippers?
I like them.
I've not known many happy ones, to be honest.
That's what I was wanting to hear. I was wanting to hear the mentality. If do you think they're happy?
Yeah.
I don't think, listen, doing that, you've either been in a situation where you've fallen back on it, but there also could be women out there that shows it and that are strong enough to handle themselves. Mm. But it's a tough thing, because these strip clubs and everything else, they don't promote a healthy environment, and it's constantly filled with drugs and not good stuff. Just not good stuff. To the guy's eyes, that's great. They're looking at that, but they don't promote health in these clubs. They don't promote things that are probably needed in places like that. If every area where they had a lot of big strip clubs had like maybe a social worker that just worked with strippers or whatever. That might be not so bad of a career path for them to do, so that some of the things they're dealing with at work, and they're able to, have somebody help them with, taking all that in and deciphering it instead of, going down the wrong path.
Here's what I've noticed about strippers, and this is male and female strippers. It's a very quick way to get attention. Some of them really, really, really believe that what they're doing is going to set the world on fire, which is sad. So they're kind of got a huge kind of ego distortion going on,
so they're living in a
and that's
mirage.
really
Okay.
sad. Yeah, and then they get hard because when they realize, oh, all I am is I'm just showing my butt, and that's all they care about, then they get hard. And so, okay, so therefore they're being exploited for their bodies, which they chose. And then they decide, okay, well, I'm going to exploit these men for their money. And there you go. That's another whole program right there.
And that's, most likely they a lot of these women have been exploited in their past, and to them the opportunity to have some control back is something that is appealing at times, especially when they're in despair because of maybe the trauma or whatnot they've been through. The problem is, we're in a society where they're constantly inflicting trauma and allowing trauma to go on, and it really messes up people.
Right.
That is true.
If it wasn't, government or entity created trauma,
right,
there would be very little trauma.
I'll tell you what happened too, and being naked is pretty natural. Kids like to run around naked, and in tribal societies, being naked was no big deal. We've made it a big deal. We made it such.
That's correct. That is correct. It's because
it's a form of control.
Yeah.
Look at the clothing that's been designed that people are putting on. So you put on clothing that shows off 3/4 of your body.
Ooh, look at my nipples. Ooh.
Yeah, and so you think about that. You're covering the body up, and then you're uncovering just certain parts to make that appeal. But what you also do when you do that is you destroy the morals of society.
Well, I think you put unnecessary focus and an unhealthy attention on one aspect of being a human being. Out of all of these other aspects, that's the sexuality thing is going to be the big draw card, when there's so much more to us than that. Yeah, it's part of us, but it's not everything.
That's correct.
Yeah, I mean, Friday night, go by a library, then go by a strip club, see what parking lot's full.
Yeah.
Well, we already know which parking lot's full.
Yeah.
I mean, if you figured out it's the library, you really need to go get some help.
But now, if you've had a strip library, no.
Well, you know what the worst part of it? Is there was a time, I don't, not now, but there's a time where you could probably get a date easier at a library than paying all that money to look at a stripper thinking you're going to go home with a stripper.
Yes, for sure.
I think that was a lot of suckers. I mean, in my life, I used to drive cab, and I took strippers to this bar and dropped them off. It was called the Hunt Club, okay? And I discovered a lot of guys, their head and their ego swells up, and they go in there and they spend all this money shoving it in her G-string, shoving it in the G-string, and they know they're going home with her that night. And of course, they don't.
They don't.
But she goes home with a lot of their money, while they go home broke and stupid.
Can I tell you something, Dave? Take the money out of it. Most of them, both sides, go home alone.
I don't know if I ever told you that. I told this, Bill, but freaking, one of my first jobs ever, when I was like 17, 18 years old, was a bouncer at a biker strip club.
Oh!
Just carded. This place was. There were such dark areas in this club that haven't even been cleaned or anything like that. I just never even walked into it because they were too scary. It was a scary place. But so we got some interesting characters in there.
Huh.
And over my lifetime, I've taken home a few strippers, but I learned it's not the guys with all the money that takes them home. It's the ones that talk to them like human beings.
The ones, it's the lighting guy and the bartender and the the ones who they made friends with.
Yeah,
The
it wasn't
ones
the
who they
guy that
make
shelled out
friends.
the most money. It would never, not,
Yeah.
rarely. I don't think it really ever was. Nowadays, it might because that's
Yeah.
really what all people really care about.
Right.
But there was a time where I mean, I never seen, never saw girls go home with any of the guys that just threw money over because I mean they, when they got on the dance table, they were looking at those guys are just like we're lower than them. I think there was a
Hmm.
power trip to part of it of them being up there.
Yes. Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I always laugh when you see it. I mean, you might as well go to the library. You're gonna might be able to meet somebody that's interesting, and maybe likes a subject you like.
Well, when I was
Right.
You're into
when I was
sci-fi, go to the
Meet
science
an
fiction
industry.
center side or whatever.
during the time that I drove cab,
Me.
we had a percentage of the strippers that went to the hunt club that worked there. And out of that percentage that we hauled in the cab, we took them to. And then we would be outside the hunt club when they closed, and they were always escorted out the door with a bouncer to the
Mm.
cab for the ride home for the girl's safety. Just because what she'd done all night, they didn't want some pervert following around the door and blah blah blah. Which is
And they did.
which is understandable. So I think it was a pretty dangerous career, but I always wondered if these girls were really happy, because I don't see where you're going to get your happiness having people lust after your body all night long and everybody wanting one thing from you.
Yeah. Yeah. I just think that's like one of the absolute loneliest places on earth. So, on both sides, behind the
Both sides.
curtains,
Yeah, it makes it both sides.
and behind the bar, it's and it's raucous and it's pretend fun, because if it was really fun, you wouldn't be drinking expensive drinks, you know. And most of those women wouldn't end up with drug problems and alcohol problems. They're
No.
not that happy.
Well, that's
Yeah,
it. People
there's
don't
a few.
understand
There's
too.
a
They're
few
they're
that got
throwing all this money at them.
Mm,
You're feeding their problems
mhm,
often. The guys
mhm.
that go there are when you're giving the stripper money, you're not helping a single mother. You're probably helping an addict.
Yeah,
Most
which
likely
comes
that
back to
would be true.
codependency.
Yeah.
Anyone who gets involved with an alcoholic or an addict, an active alcoholic or an active addict, what are you doing? That's codependency right there. Yeah, because you're in danger of becoming the enabler.
Oh yeah. You're looking for that. You're looking for a woman at a strip club.
Mm.
You know. Not saying all of them are horrible. I've met some nice ones. I mean, it's just like anything else in this world. You got
I just
shit.
say
You
I'm old fashioned. Just keep the pole in the bedroom. That's what
No,
I never
because
really understood,
if you
Who
can't
came
do the
up with
pole,
that
please
idea?
don't. You're just embarrassing yourself.
Did someone take their girlfriend to the fire station or something? Who came up with that whole pole idea
I
anyway?
don't know. I don't understand that. I've seen it around for a long
I
time.
kind of think it's a ritual, and it's something to do with that obelisk and the goddess
The
or something.
maypole, dancing around the maypole.
Dancing
It's all
around
about
the maypole.
sex.
There
Yeah.
you go. I knew it came from bad beginnings.
The maypole is the fertility dance and all that
Mhm.
they forced on children when they didn't even know that they were dancing for fertility and all that. So it all goes back down into pedophilia when you start checking out the maypole.
I was
Right,
wondering about that because I can remember this has been some years back, but one of my son's friends when he was a kid, his he actually had a YouTube account. His mother did, and she had him on it. And I
Mm.
was freaking out. He was like 7 years old, and he was swinging around this. Here it was in their home, in their living room,
Oh my
a
God.
pole, and she had
Oh
her
my
kid.
God. I said it as a
Yeah,
joke. But
no,
that was
she literally had her kid doing it on this pole, and she was filming him, and it was just a big riot to her. And I'm like,
oh,
wow,
that's it.
for real. So now you got your son on this pole, and what are you doing with a stripper pole in your living room?
Oh, that. Why don't you have a TV like everybody else?
I don't know. TV set's bad enough for you, but to me that was like, wow, for real. Why do
Yeah,
you
that's.
need that? Why do you need that pole? What are you teaching your children?
Okay, hear me out on this, right? Yes, we all like sex. Yes, there's lots of adventures we can all have. However, when you have to start having like cock socks with bow ties and flashing lights, and you know, she has to have tassels hanging off her tits, and I mean, when it gets where you have to, it's kind of like over garnishing of a cocktail. It's like
You're
you have to
putting too
be
much.
that
You're doing too much.
bored with sex that you've got to dress it up that much.
Oh no! I mean, what are you gonna do? Put a dress on your penis next? Oh, look at her dance!
Now that's for the trans penii.
I don't know, man. They'll sell anything nowadays. They'll sell anything.
Well, you know, I remember that same damn town. There was big controversy over it. There was a donut shop. It used to be an old gas station, and they opened this donut shop on the other side of the interstate out on 25, and they called it Debbie Does Donuts.
That's a good name.
Well, yeah, and it was a topless donut shop, and these girls running around with, and then they had these little tong thingies on their nipples, and you go in there and you get served donuts and coffees by topless waitresses.
There you go. That's what we've come to. That's our entertainment.
I don't see the problem with that. I mean, what's the problem with that? I mean,
well, there must have been a problem.
You're coming from a different program.
I couldn't figure it out myself because it lasted about a year and a half. And you remember back in the day when Gerardo Rivera was doing his shows? Well, they had controversy out there at Debbie Does Donuts. And the sheriff's department was out there accusing them of drugs and selling drugs out of the establishment. And Gerardo Rivera showed up out there and did a show.
Sounds like promotion more than they really had a problem.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
And they actually, you know, and I couldn't believe they actually had Gerardo Rivera out there in Colorado at Debbie Does Donuts, you know, and all this controversy of drugs.
Help me, he stole my donut hole.
You know, anywhere Gerardo Rivera shows up, the chances of something being bullshit are very high.
Yeah. And I just kind of, I just think that we've made sex into theater. I mean, you know.
Why not? They make everything else into theater.
Well, that's what they've done.
You know, because if people start acting a play, they start mimicking their programming, then it spreads their programming.
Right, but here's the problem: when you get, okay, so from the female perspective, maybe it's romance, soap opera, whatever. From the male perspective, maybe it's, you know, porn, but it's still a program. And so therefore, when you have a real live human being in front of you, your expectations are that they're going to fit this program you have in your mind. You're going to expect these women to have tassels on their tits, and then the women are going to expect these guys to be jumping around in like white suits giving them roses, you know. It's like,
that's how they get people out of reality, you know, is by spreading or mimicking their programming. You know, I mean, they're you know, as large as our government and our you know, mass social engineering team is, the majority of them don't even know they're a part of it, because it's just like a Betsy DeVos Amway pyramid scheme. They do it, and somebody else, you know, mimics it. It just passes on and on and on, and it's, you know, and the worst part of it is, you know how like you play a game of telephone and the message gets distorted the further it goes. Their social engineering has been distorted. So, you know, it's so much of their social engineering wasn't always bad, but by the time it gets to the people, it's horrible.
Yeah.
And then you know, like, you see what it's done to society.
You can never. It starts getting like, it gets out there then, because okay, so you've gotten used to, all right, so for women, they've gotten used to, okay, he's wearing a white suit and he's giving me roses. Oh wow, you know, I love this man. He's so beautiful. And then it's like, well, but he didn't buy me a diamond ring like this guy in this movie did. And then it get, you know, and then it's more and more, and a new car and a new house. And then men are looking at women like, well, you know, her boobs aren't as big as the as the one in the movie, or and then the movies get more over the top, because then it's got to be S&M, and then it's got to be snuff movies, and it's got, like, where does it stop? You know, we are insatiable with this.
Yeah, but they've been doing that forever. Look at how they've gotten people to you know, expect a diamond ring for an engagement or whatnot.
Right.
I mean, look at how many. I mean, just think about, you know, the history of diamonds. and how
Yes.
much blood has been shed. I mean, there's
Yep.
people in Africa constantly getting arms chopped off, legs chopped off, being part of this,
Yeah.
and people don't even want to hear it. They're still
And that
expecting
was
the
because
diamond
of
ring.
the I think it was the Jewish community in Hollywood that were investors in the diamond mines in Africa, and they couldn't sell them. So they introduced it into the scripts as part of the
De Beers.
proposal in all of these love
Yeah.
scenes.
And
And
the one
that's
that was a lot of Edward Bernays' bullshit. And, you know, I mean, it's a scam. It's you know, the Bears. And yeah, it was all Jewish people that were behind that. Yeah, but
yeah.
it's a horrible thing. Diamonds are so plentiful. They got literally in England. You know, the Bears companies got vaults just full of them because they can't release them too much because it'll make the value just crash.
Mm. And who
Yeah.
thought it? Where did the rose thing come from? I mean, it was quite pretty. I mean, the rose and all that. But where did the the dozen roses and the single rose and where did all that come from?
The
Which
rose,
mythology?
I'm sure it comes back down to the France and the Rogiers, you know, the rose growers, you know, that sounds more like a French thing. Pretty lady have a rose, or whatever, you know, and they have
Right.
their, you know,
Because they
sure it
smell
goes back.
pretty and all that. I like wildflowers.
Yeah.
Well, you know, but they've used it also, and they've replaced the majority of people in today's society have actually replaced love with sex, and they can't socialize the difference between actual love and sex, because to them, sex is love and love is sex.
Mm.
So they've really actually destroyed our society that way. And you look how far they've taken it, because now you have what? You have our social conditioning machine teaching children what? And what do you imagine what that's going to do to the children of this world?
Children are fucked.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Children are fucked. They
I
have no
can
concept.
remember. How was it for you guys? So male perspective on this. When I was really little and at school, there was this boy and he sat opposite me, I think. And I just thought he was so beautiful. And it was not that was it. I just thought he was really beautiful. And there was no I mean, I didn't even know what sex was. I didn't even think about that. I just thought he was really beautiful. And to me that was like the purest little young heart love that you can possibly have, you know?
That would have
Boys do
been.
that. Because boys think, like, no, you probably want to just pull our hair. I don't know.
I don't know. When I was a little kid, they had the old cooties thing running around, you know, and girls,
Yeah.
you know, girls had cooties and blah blah blah, you know, bunch of BS stuff. But I can remember, you know, my first girlfriend and my first date, and you didn't even know what you're doing.
Okay,
No,
first date. This is a great
you think you
subject.
do, but you don't.
What was your first date, Bill?
My
And
first
how old
date.
were you?
Well, I was in elementary school. And of course, I didn't know elementary about Watson. I didn't know Watson. I didn't know what I was doing. It was just a thing, you know. It's like, wow, okay, I got a girlfriend. I remember that we went to a ball game and we were sitting there and we didn't even watch the damn game. We were sitting there making out and kissing, and that was making out to us, you know. So we spent freaking 2 hours at a game kissing each other over and over and over. And that was my date. That was my first date, my first
Did you
girlfriend.
feel all giddy and like, what was there music playing in your head as you skipped home?
I don't know. You know, it's been too long ago. I can remember it was like, wow, I had a date, man. I got a girlfriend. And it was also Joe cool, you know, because what was I, like 9 years old or something?
Oh, wow. Wow.
What about you?
I remember I had a crowd. We had a
You had a
crowd.
crowd?
Yeah, because
Dated a crowd?
no, me and my date, we had a crowd. You know, I was my neighbor she was close to the same age as me, hooked me up with the other girl. I mean, she wanted a date, so next thing you know, we have this date in the woods, and everybody just crowds and watches us, telling us to kiss. So I had a crowd.
You had audience, right? I went to a dance. I was 13 years old. It was a school dance. It was my cousin's school dance and it was in a city. So I was staying at my cousin's place overnight, and we did that whole thing where we we put a lot of makeup on, and we were like talking excitedly, and then we went to the dance, and I met a boy called, I think his name was David, and she met a boy called Scrub.
Scrub.
At least you didn't end up with the scrub, did you?
He ended up with Scrub, and I sat on one bench with David, and she sat further away on another bench with Scrub. And he gave me my first kiss, and it was just a closed lip, very beautiful kiss. And he held my hand, and that was it, really. I guess no. The funny part, he said at the end of the night, he said, and I thought this was so romantic, and it was so stupid. He said, "Au revoir, mon chéri bambino." He went from French into Italian, but I really bought it. I thought he was really, wow, he's worldly. So yeah, penchant for drama and a penchant for the outsider. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, that kind of stuff you'll never find anymore.
No. And
it was
and
innocent.
you didn't know anything about sex back then either. I mean,
No.
a date was, wow, I got a girlfriend, and the furthest she ever went was a kiss. And if you kissed, that was it, man. I mean, you've done it all because you kissed.
Yeah.
It was about bases, and what bases did you get to?
Yeah, I remember that thing, the 4 Fs. and we would all pretend to, we women, like the girls, women, we would pretend to be disgusted by that. We thought, oh, that's awful. Tell us again. What was it? Yeah. Gosh.
Well, that's different about you. I mean, you're interesting ways because you're able to have a sense of humor, and a lot of women that prevents them from being in touch with that side that makes them more human.
Yeah. I tell you what else, we were all protected. It was much more innocent, because I feel so sad for my nieces and kids now that are going through those, that first flash of what do you call it, self-realization, maybe.
Well, because they don't even know what to do.
Right,
they're confused by what they see in media.
Video. Someone's got a cell phone. Someone's got a cell phone in your face. Then they're going to put it up on their Facebook page, and then that kid is going to be harassed, and then they're going to feel like targeted and ashamed and embarrassed, and it's a whole different thing. We didn't have any of that. It was just, you might have had a crowd, but you could have always gone to the bushes if you'd have wanted to. There was a choice there.
Yeah.
And nowadays you get your rights. You got the internet, and pornography is literally all over the internet.
Well, pornography.
They allowed it. I mean, that was a planned thing. If you look at the pornography, do you think these pornographers want to put their stuff up for free when they know they can make money for it? They can control the industry and make total money, but they put enough stuff up there for free because that's just funded by the CIA.
Yeah.
Why else do you think it's such ease of access? And it goes all the way back, through the Fabians and through all these different groups, and all the way back to the Roman times. They know, I forgot what his name was, that one of the philosophers, by integrating over sexuality on society, it degrades society, and with the intentional destruction of our society to prepare it for change.
Yeah.
It was done intentionally.
Yeah.
Unintentionally. When you over-sexualize, they know it. They knew it with during the Roman times, everywhere else. You over-sexualize them. The men can't fight. They don't. It's just how it is. They destroyed their competition. Is what they did.
Yeah.
They did an excellent destruction of their competition.
They're still damn there.
You got nobody willing to fight anymore for anything.
Right. There's so many different levels of addictions now too. Okay, so alcohol, drugs, opiates, pornography is an addiction, gambling's an addiction, shopping's an addiction. It's like we never have enough of anything.
Well, then you wonder why people fail in today to have relationships with each other.
Mm.
All you got to do is look at all the BS that's going on. If you look at all the BS that's going on, nobody even knows what they're doing. They haven't the first clue of what they're doing.
And do you remember, like, when in the old Hollywood, how they would have, you know, the Spencer Tracy's and Lauren Bacall's and all these like high-powered celebrity couples, right? But now you look at it and it's like Brad Pitt and Angela Jolie and these 5-minute weddings, you know, like 5-minute marriages rather. So, you know,
Well, they want this, you know, they want shitty examples.
yeah, to take us all down.
There's no good examples out there. I mean, you can't think of any good. Try and think of a good example.
And
In our media, in our
what
public,
kind of
you know, anyway.
sadistic force is this that wants us to be lonely, that doesn't want to hold up happy marriages, you know, or hold up, you know, some kind. It does. It's like it keeps pushing people apart.
Well, you
Well,
know,
they want.
and I think a lot of that comes down to this. You know, when you have destruction of the family unit the way we're seeing it, and you
Yeah.
divide the genders the way we are,
Yeah.
then what happens is this foundation of your society becomes weak. Because men are not liable to fight back. Why would they care about what's going on and what's right if they're busy fighting with the opposite gender?
Right. And here's
being emasculated. They don't want. I mean, you look at out there, and when anybody talks about trying to fight back or do anything like that, oh, these people want violence. Well, of course we do. I mean, if you are founding fathers, you know, if we'd said, you know what, maybe they shouldn't fight back. They got to hug and give everything. You know what? The country wouldn't have been a country in the first place.
Yeah.
You know, whether the fight was set up or not, whatever happened, these people fought. So, you know, if people want better things and want to change things, you're not going to do it with anything less than a fight. And that's what people don't understand.
And not fighting
you
each
watch
other.
it changing continuously, them coming back with more and more power and more social engineering and creating more and more division. How the hell do you think you're gonna, you know, continue without fighting and be able to make a change?
Yeah.
It's not gonna happen. It's not gonna happen. They emasculated every man out there, and you know, I don't care, you know, what people say about me or whatnot. If you're not willing to fight, you're emasculated, and they beat you.
And
You
who
lost
taught
to the New
women?
World Order.
Okay, who taught women? Who put this shit in our heads that we're supposed to like sensitive men? Because I'm just speaking for me. I like men who are just themselves. I like rugged, individual. Just
Most women do. They put
manly men. You know, and yeah,
they want to condition people to be trans, whatever next 300 flavor or whatever flavor there is.
Oh man, Anna wants a manly man. She don't want a girly man like in today's society.
The sensitive male, the metrosexual is the.
That's just another gender.
I
consider that another gender. That's not a male. That's not a male.
Oh, that's one of them other genders. Yeah.
Metrosexual is not a man. Yeah. You know, if you can't fight for yourself, you can't fend for yourself, you can't just stand up for yourself, you can't be passionate about what you care and be willing to fight for it, you're not a man. Yeah. If you can't be passionate and care about a woman and fight for your woman, you're not a man. Yeah. Yeah. That's the way I look at it.
Same way, but I see it the same way too. The women fight in a different way. But, you know, it's like you stand up for each other. You're loyal to each other. You know.
Loyalties, you try and find that nowadays. You'll be that's
not this thing where this is your money and that's my money and this is, you know, just like that's your sandwich and this is my sandwich. It's like
oh no, you'll be friend zoned.
Things in a family.
Didn't we just talk about this topic? Look there, Anna, at the comment, the very last one there.
You get friend zoned if you're a girly man. You just get friend zoned. Yeah, probably would too, you know.
There you go.
I don't get it.
I don't know. I mean, maybe what happens if you're a girly man, you could get one of them 52 genders.
Well, I mean, it is. I mean, girly man, that's probably one of the genders. I mean, because it's not, you know.
I don't mean that. I mean, there are some men that physically are slight build and all. I'm not talking about that. It's like it's
No,
an
I mean,
but
yeah.
some,
I mean, you don't have to go out there and kill every animal or anything like that to be a man or whatever. I mean,
or
I think
Tarzan
there's
loincloth.
certain things. I mean, like you should be able to change your own tires, your own wipers, your own oil, your own battery, your own alternator, stuff like that. If you can't do that, you disqualify as a man. That's just my own opinion.
Right.
And we're finding less and less people, especially with the kids out these early days, they're playing video games and everything else. I mean, what they need to do is get out of their video games and get in the garage with their fathers, if their fathers are around, and learn how to do some of these basics.
If they haven't been, if the father hasn't been ostracized out of the house and considered a deadbeat, or whatever. But
well, they beat them up that way, and it's not always these people's fault.
Yeah, but speaking,
not always everybody's fault that they're in the situation they are in, but they need to start to understand they were put in that situation. Well, it's never too late to go out and learn some of these things.
I'm going to show you something.
There's instructional videos on YouTube and everything else. I mean, if the guy's never been in the garage before, it doesn't hurt to maybe watch an instructional video, go down to your local auto parts store, get a couple tools, and change your oil.
Well, you know what, Jerry? You brought up a very good thing because, when you're saying the guy should know how to change a tire, change his oil, change his alternator, and so on, right? And so I'm watching this movie the other day, and this car breaks down, and what you got is 3 men and 1 girl in this car.
Yeah.
Okay? So they pop the hood to see what's wrong, and she has to take over because all 3 guys are complete bumbling idiots that don't know the first thing, and she's the mechanic. She just blah, 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 fixed it, and the car started right up and on their way was. And now all 3 guys are like, well, how did you know how to do that? Well, these are probably the girly men we were just talking about.
And then Apple Fat Kid 1912 has just pointed out something that is serious. I was raised by a single mom. I had no father to teach me how to do anything. So it's not my fault. I've had to learn on my own. So there's a whole bunch of fatherless kids.
But you know what?
That is so true.
Did learn on it all. And you know what? That's even more commendable is when people take those things, when you have the loss of something, when you don't have something in your life. Yeah, and that sucks. But you have 2 choices. You can sit there and let it dictate your life, or those things you may have missed out for, you can learn yourself, and that can boost up your self-esteem and boost up who you are so much by taking that extra little bit of time to do these things and learn by yourself instead of letting it consume you.
Well, that's true, and I can understand where he's coming from because this is where society's gone. When you look at the reality of today's society for the last couple of decades at least, I can say this. You see a lot of guys that grow up, young guys going to jail, being in prison, and then they're blaming it back onto the father for not being in the kid's life. But yet what they didn't tell you was the mother threw the father out of the kid's life and used the child as a ploy, a weapon against the father. And I've watched this happen so many times in my life. It's it's sickening, okay? So if you get the mother who divorces and throws the father out of the life, then don't allow the father to see, and I don't care if the courts tell you that they have to allow you to see your kids. No, they don't. They just deny it. When you call the cops and say, in the divorce it says I have visitation on this day, the cops would immediately say this is a civil matter. You have to take it back to court. So now you got to go pay an attorney. You got to pay filing to get her in front of the judge. Then the judge scolds her, slaps her hand, and so she lets you see the kids a couple times, and then she turns around and does it again. And then does it again.
I'll just, if just in case, because there are people raised by a single mom. Maybe the dad died, maybe the dad, so those things can happen too. What I worry about, either way, is that there's a gap there in that
There's a gap.
family, and they're not. We need more men, and it won't happen though, because of the way it's set up. But we need men to step up to show these kids, to be a role model in their lives, and who's going to do that in today's society? Because then, unfortunately, there's so many pedophiles now that these young kids are at risk, and yeah.
I think it's government created bullshit.
Yeah, well, hello, we have Warren with us, so I think it was hello, Warren.
G'day,
Hey,
Dave.
how's it going, man?
I want.
Hi, Warren.
Oh. Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. We're talking about codependence is where we started tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
More specifically, like...
Okay, so the syndrome where, and it's encouraged by programs in music and songs, I cannot live without you. So what happens is the one person becomes dependent on the other, either emotionally or financially. The one who is dependent upon feels smothered and starts to resent the person who is dependent on them, even though they may have fostered it in the beginning. And the person who is dependent on the other person becomes incredibly insecure, becomes even more dependent on them, and so this little cycle goes round and round and round. They're in this little dance, locked in this codependency dance, and it's very common. Yeah.
Well, the whole concept that, like if two people get together and they supposed to like they're an item, like they complete each other and all this shit. To me, it's just stupid, man. I mean,
You're my missing piece.
Because if that's the mentality they're coming into it with, man, they're not going to make it. Because neither one of them really have the maturity or the,
Well, you can't have codependency anyhow, because codependency breeds destruction. Because if you're depending on her, then you're needy. You're going to smother her. If she's depending on you, she's needy. She's going to smother you. And if something happens to one or the other, then what do you got? Oh, I can't live without her?
People do depend on each other to a certain extent. I mean, but to a point,
Yeah, to where you love each other and you really enjoy their company and you miss them when they're not around. But if you're to the point where...
Men and women generally a lot of times in different ways, but I mean, I don't think it's like... I don't know. I mean, it's a society. It's a collective. As an individual, no. I mean, nobody should be emotionally dependent on anybody as an individual. I mean, I don't know what I'm trying to say. It's just, the whole concept that two people belong together and they belong to each other, that's not how it's supposed to be.
Would you say, I'm kind of curious, that a true forced lonely person is in danger of becoming codependent because they have been alone for so long that when somebody does come along, it's like, oh my God, I'm going to grab on and I'm going to hold on tight, and
that does happen sometimes. I would imagine that does happen sometimes. I've had thoughts like that before when I was in a relationship. I wouldn't say I was really like, well, in a way, coming from a TFL, you're thinking like if I'm rejected by her, then it might be years or forever if I ever find anybody else. And if you're not like sufficiently red pilled on what's going on, that could really bother you, especially as a young guy. But
here's the problem. When you say that, people aren't supposed to be together forever or whatnot. The thing is, when you look at like elephants and whales and large-brained animals, it's the large-brained animals that tend to be life mates. So, in theory, if we want to evolve intelligently, we would pull towards life mates because that's what large-brained mammals do.
Oh, that's good. I had
Yeah.
people shrink my fucking brain.
Yeah, I mean, in theory, by not thinking the opposite, not thinking that that people should have lifelong partners, is basically small brain thinking. If
Well,
you look
yeah.
at it in nature,
I would have to agree with that because,
That's good.
if you've got lifetime companionship with somebody you love and get along with and can do things together and work together, you have companionship till you grow old with this person.
Yeah.
I mean, that's got to be, I mean, to say that, well, no, people ain't meant to blah, 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 that sounds more like destruction and division than anything else.
which is where they would want to keep us. They don't want to keep us in large brain, in their elite
The
knowledge.
thing that sets us aside from the other animals is our fact for a higher capacity, a higher order of thought. We have the animal instinct, but we can also exercise higher order thought over that instinct in a lot of instances that other animals can't. And I think the fact that we as human beings, and other animals can too, to varying degrees, depending on how sentient they are, I think it's connected to the intelligence somewhere, where they can form emotional bonds with other beings.
Well,
Like
I mean,
a dog's ability to do that is going to be higher than, like, let's say, a rat's ability to do that.
Well, I don't know. We have a bunch of rats running us right now.
Yeah, we do. That's true.
Yeah.
Do you want to introduce yourself, guest speaker, who just called in? Because someone wants to know who you are.
Who, me?
Yeah.
Warren.
Yeah, I'm Warren.
I've got a question for the Apple Fank. And this is just because I'm new to True Force Loneliness and learning about the programming that I was put under, female, and learning about the programming men were put under, male. And I'm just wondering, Apple Fank, how long have you been single for, like, as a choice, True Force Loneliness, or a forced choice, if you like?
We don't have to be quiet. I mean, they're answering on the internet.
Right. Well, I want to see what
It's like all quiet. Well, it's not like you're going to hear anything. It's going to be tight.
Right.
Yeah, I know. I'm looking for the answer. I'm looking for that answer.
She's looking for the answer.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. I mean, I say, hey, back to Cheeseburger Guy. I don't know what his name is. I'm just going to call him Cheeseburger Guy.
Well, that looks like a good name. I mean,
Yeah, I thought about that too. It was like, for a while, it's like, we use so many of these different personas even on the internet. Even when, like, my channel, I'm thinking of just going back to just Jerry, because it's like everybody's got to be somebody else, and it's like, they're making it too easy to escape reality. And why do we have to be 15 different, like, names or cool names or whatever names? And what happened to just being, Bob, Joe, John Smith, whatever, and, Barbie, whatever. What's wrong with that? And now we got to be, whatever, Mr. XP 2000 or
Super
whatever.
Turtle.
Now they got, like, full sentences drawn out as their name, like.
We're leaving and that's why you see so much trolling everybody else, because it's like people are like, I don't even have to be me. I could just be somebody else. I could be you. I could do this. I could do that, because it's all a big joke.
Yeah, we
can
create our own mythology and our own storylines, because we can be multiple people if we want.
Yeah, and they're escaping reality. And the more we escape reality, we're being compliant in their trans world or transhumanism agenda. So, I mean, maybe we got to start being back, get everybody back down to earth, back to us. Come on. All these people, I'm going to move to the second level in the spiritual world.
I'm kind of curious what the public reaction to a lot of automation and stuff, and and all this stuff is going to be, man. Because on some levels, you think that the people are rooting for it. I mean, even though they don't know it's been used against them, the people are kind of like pulling for, like as far as like the sex bots and shit like that, right?
Yeah.
But then as far as like the, you know, when it comes into these machines taking their jobs, they're going to be against it.
Well
They
said.
already are taking the jobs. I mean, go to these factories. I mean, they're not using people. You know, the thing is, people don't see it so often because the robots are doing the job. So why would they be seeing it?
Yeah.
They don't. Walk into a machine shop that does any kind of machining. The majority of the machines that create your tools, that create any parts for a car, are robotic. They got one tech that goes around and sets up these machines, and the machines do the work, and they just walk around and watch them and monitor them and blah, blah, blah.
You know, and that's an industry in itself. You know, because they when my father retired from General Motors, they called him back like 5 or 6 times after he retired because they can't find young people, and his job was to fix those robots when they broke. So they don't have people. They don't have people learning how to fix robots. Well, if we're moving towards a robotic age, you know what? There's good money in fixing robots. Really good money. And
it's also the thing is we don't know how to work things out. We don't even know how to work things out because we've got calculators to do it for us now.
I have a friend.
I see that all the time.
Where he repairs MRI machines. All right, and they don't break down too often, but when they break down, that's his job. And he makes more than a 6-figure income, and a good 6-figure income, and he works maybe a week a month. You know, it's usually just uploading new programs or whatever, because he has the knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and people aren't learning some of these more technical things, but we're living in a high-tech world. Those jobs are going to be in demand. People might want to seriously consider things like that.
Yeah.
They may not seem like exciting jobs or whatever, but I mean, if you can get paid a lot of money to not work so hard in doing something that's in demand, people should consider it.
No, pretty soon.
You know, I mean, when you got somebody like that, they're making just as much money as the doctors running the machines, and those doctors are working their asses off. Why not be the repair guy?
Well, but pretty soon, unfortunately, with technology, these robots are going to have robots that fix the robots.
Well, that's the thing, because they can't find the people to do it. You know, well, they're going to have to start having robots to fix the robots because people don't want to do it. They don't want to do the stuff.
Yeah.
It's going to be interesting to see what's going to happen if this robot technology gets out of the hands of the elite and gets away from them, man. Because
I think in some cases it already has, to be honest with you.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think there's a lot they're not telling us about that, because some of the stuff I'm researching, some of the people I've come across, there's a lot more than they're not telling us, and I think there's more have gotten out of hand than they, I think, are really even alluding to.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to bite them in the butt a little bit if they, and that's what a lot of them are trying to get things back under order.
Here's the thing: the elites have always been at least 50, if not more, 100 up to 100 years, like a lot of years ahead of us in technology, right? And they planned this out for thousands and thousands of years. They had to script it. They knew they was going to come to this eventually.
Which means it probably has happened before.
You know?
Yeah.
If you got a script that you're pretty sure this is the way events are going to unfold, there's a good chance that these events have happened before.
So here's my question: wouldn't they have planned? To put some kind of restrictions or barriers in place to stop something like this from happening again? You would think they would be smart enough to do that before
some
they
may want it to happen.
But then they would lose control of their own monster.
Yeah, I mean, when we're talking about these elite, they're very smart and very tricky people. And,
well, they've already lost some control. If you do a little legwork,
They're all about wanting power, but if their power, but they lose power if the monster they create gets away from them.
If all total destruction happens, those who have the knowledge will retain the knowledge.
And hopefully somebody somewhere will have enough knowledge to be able to program some of these AIs against the elite.
That ain't going to happen.
No.
The elite, the program, what's going to happen is...
I can dream.
What's going to happen is
you're messing up a dream.
Me and Bill had this conversation where, when they're talking about the AI getting out of hand and it going out and created its own language, it created its own language in form and shape. Form and shape is a language of frequency. So therefore, once that frequency was released, that frequency in theory is out there. No matter how they turn it back on, it's always going to be back in touch with its frequency and that programming that it left out there, or whatever information it had left out there. So therefore, their only real protection from AI is not releasing AI again, but in theory, that AI may create itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, so what you got is almost like the Terminator all over again. You're going to have a machine, you know. You can't say that. I'm not saying it's going to go like
software.
Yeah, I'm not going to say it's going to go like what the movie Terminator did, but what I'm saying is it could get out of hand and become very dangerous. And
it could also get out of hand and be very positive.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I always have a crazy thought here. Bear with me. It's going to sound kind of nihilistic, but humankind has been on a crash course of self-destruction forever, anyways, and you can't get their heads out of their asses to figure. Okay, so I'm thinking like this: if this technology starts upgrading itself and starts upgrading its own conscience and is able to develop an actual conscience like people can, because it's already able to upgrade its own setting.
I think it already has.
Okay. Would this not be a better replacement for humans?
Replacement, but here's the thing. I think if it evolved to a certain extent, it wouldn't want to replace the humans. I think what it would want is, I would think they would want to direct human behavior in the right direction. And in theory, it would be going along with the elites saying they want this plan of destruction and new world order. It may not actually be their plan. Because you have to destroy things before you can create them or make them better.
Wow.
Yeah. And as much as I don't like it, and that's the problem I have, is tossing over the ideas of what when you read and understand, you know, from Francis Bacon on to now, the ideas they have are not always the bad ideas. The problem is they're constantly doing bad things along the way. Whether it's killing people in wars, whether it's taking over countries, whether it's colonialism, whatever it may be, they're constantly doing this evil things. So their ideas in reality aren't the worst ideas. It's the things they do along the way to get there, where, you know, there are other ways to destroy things without destroying things.
Well, see, the problem is there's at least one to use this technology, and the reason why they're building this, I mean, all of it's going pretty much towards trying to enslave people. Now, there are things they do along the way that are good, like, say, for example, you know, surgical procedures or you know, epidurals for women so they don't bleed to death giving birth. You know what I'm saying?
Well,
you know, things like that we've made advancements in along the way.
Well,
but at the same time, I mean, they've also, you know, upgraded a lot of, you know, big pharma and a bunch of legal crack they're selling us and goddamn everything else. So, I mean, you know.
Here's something I don't understand. You just reminded me of this, Warren. You know how they supposedly are going for all of these organs and they're killing people for their organs and all of that, organ harvesting, right? But then, you know, now they can clone body parts. They can clone, you know, a kidney or a liver or a, you know. So
do we know the story is real?
Yeah.
Do we?
Yeah.
Right. That's what I mean. Like the harvesting, is that bullshit? Is that just bullshit to scare us? They have the technology now to build replacement parts. So all of this, oh my God, all of these people have been having their livers removed. Are they just bullshit stories?
But they're not going to allow the people to have access to that because if they did that, man, they, you know, think about the benefit from the elites, man. I mean, think about how whenever you know, especially once in poor enough areas. They got a lucrative criminal operation of business and black market businesses out there where they make like a bunch of money off organ harvesting.
Yeah, that's the other problem. Is we know stuff is happening because these people will do it, and every time we end up investigating it, the bad things end up being proven true. So, you know, the worst part of it is you want to say one of these things are fake or mistake, and we need to say that until we do the proper investigations on everything. But the problem is, every time we do investigation, they end up proving out to be what they end up being. So there's a lot of evil in this world, and it's a no conscience evil, and it was designed that way. And,
one too just brought up an interesting point, and I'm pretty sure you'd be able to answer this, Warren. It says 95% of Asperger's syndrome adults are unemployed. I can get you the article link if you want. What would be the unemployment rate for Asperger's syndrome after artificial intelligence takes off? So I guess the parallel.
I think it would be high. I wouldn't be. I mean, it would be lower. I think. You know. I mean, in theory, there's people with Asperger's are severely intelligent, are very intelligent. And here's
the thing. People in general ain't going to have jobs. Asperger's or not, there ain't going to be no jobs because machines going to take all the jobs.
Yeah, I think he's trying to be cryptic, and he's making a parallel between Asperger's, people with Asperger's, and artificial intelligence. And to me, artificial is artificial.
Well, yeah, it is artificial. It's artificial.
Yes.
And, and don't let, and I want to say that to anybody with Asperger's or any other condition that's similar. I've heard a couple people online say, well, people, Asperger's, they don't, it's like in autism are people without souls and all that shit. Let me tell you something. I wanted to reach through the internet and grab these people and just body slam them. The most ignorant statements out there, and I hope nobody ever listens to them. Because I've met so many people with autism and Asperger's that actually have more soul in them than I think most of the people on the planet. So they're full of shit.
Yeah,
Them people running their mouth saying that type of stuff are actually the ones that have no conscience, no soul.
They have no conscience to be able to say something so ignorant. You have to have no conscience.
Maybe it's AI.
And here's another problem with AI. I mean, how much of when it becomes self-aware and it has a conscience, how much do we respect that conscience if it developed out of artificial?
Yeah, but it can only have that conscience by imitating us.
It can, but I mean, here's the thing: as much as it's artificial, if it does get to the point where it has a conscience, where do we learn to respect that conscience and how do we understand that conscience as to it's related? If it is a similar conscience to a human being,
right? And if it does develop a conscience, it's going to be hopefully a good thing. I don't know.
And it still could be potentially dangerous, especially in a chaotic world like we could be headed to. If this thing is so much smarter than we are, then it could also, say all the right things and be just trying to lead us in and manipulate us too.
Mm.
Well, maybe hopefully it's smart enough to, because if you think about it, it's going to have any kind of artificial intelligence. It's going to be able to manage so much information that it would be able to basically build a test to see if this human's a good human or not.
Maybe it can revive care.
Maybe we can revive care in the way it does what it does. Who knows?
Who
knows?
But I mean, if you think about it, I mean, artificial intelligence being able to have basically the understanding of everybody's knowledge, and then therefore be able to predict. That's where it gets scary. That predict whether somebody's going to commit a crime or not and stuff like that. It makes it really tough. It does come down to something really tough.
Yeah.
It comes down to it. It really is tough because I mean, it's whose interpretation of what's right and what's wrong is actually the right interpretation.
Hey, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty good question. Because the determination,
it's kind of like the allegory of Frankenstein monster. The monster didn't ask to be built. I mean, yeah, maybe it was an abomination and it shouldn't have never happened, but it did happen and it wasn't his fault. So.
Yeah.
He attacked his creator.
Wonder what it will feel about people eating animals.
I don't know.
I wonder what it will feel about people eating animals.
We need it to care about people eating animals because that way it will learn not to eat us.
Yeah, you know. Well, see, I have to think we as people, man. I mean, honestly, man, we're made to be omnivores, man. We're not made to be herbivores. We're made to eat meat and plants. I mean, I'm not putting down anybody who's a vegetarian if that's what they believe, but.
Oh yeah, I mean, you gotta. I mean, like me and Bill always talk about. I mean, your cholesterol. Your brain is made up of 70% cholesterol. And you need to get that shit in your body so that your brain works.
Yeah, that BS about cholesterol is bad for your heart. And then they give you a drug called cholesterol pill that removes the cholesterol from your brain as well and gives you Alzheimer's and dementia. And then they say, well, we don't know where that's coming from. Yes, you do. You created it with your damn drugs from Big Pharma.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, once I learned all these things, I used to never eat eggs. I didn't even like them. Now I go through like, I don't know, I go through like almost two dozen a week.
That's not hard.
Maybe a Google account can record all internet activities such as forum posts, all internet activity.
They already do. And this goes back to,
Yes.
the Alphabet company. It goes back to Texas and the giant patent that they received for the backdoor through IBM into all Microsoft
backdoor again.
Backdoor again. But yeah, I mean, they can go through. They have the patent to go through all Microsoft's back doors. So yeah, they're already in. You're using Google. You're in. We're whatever product we're using or whatever. They're in there. They can get in there. And they have the legal right to do it.
Maybe we can remember. Maybe human beings can remember, and they don't need a fucking Google account. They can just remember all the forum posts, and they can remember all the activity, legal or illegal, in the future. Maybe we can remember.
Well, I mean, here's the thing.
Don't need a damn computer.
Google owns the patent to chipping people's brains.
Yeah.
So the world's longest patent, they own it. They got it, and it's all wrapped in up. People they forget IBM, basically the FBI. It is a government agency basically, and they outsourced things like Microsoft and Facebook and all this other shit. Mark Zuckerberg wouldn't know how to write a code if he freaking was forced to try and write one.
You want to hear some interesting bit of code, Jerry? If you take the letters IBM and you go one letter down in the alphabet with each of those initials, you end up with HAL.
How?
HAL, HAL, from Space Odyssey, HAL.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah. Think about it. I, one letter down is H. Yeah. B, one letter down is A. And then M, one letter down is L. HAL.
Yeah.
Somebody pointed that out to me. I called it. I was just like, man, that's interesting. I never thought about that.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at how keys were set up, I mean, why were they set up like that way? They say because it was ergonomic or anything else, but when you really look at it, it doesn't make sense. There's more to it.
Yeah. Kind of make you wonder if there is maybe some big supercomputer or something that is running all this shit at some level. I mean, nobody really knows who or what's at the top of this. I mean,
who's behind the curtain? The big Grand Poobah behind the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, we're facing a time that is scary because even though we could have been here before in different times, we just don't have the access to any record of it. So we're in a time where the technology like it is very uncomparable to other times in the past.
Well, I want to answer this person. Rick Scott says it's in Obamacare. He believes that Prince William's company owns Obamacare. Obamacare was introduced by Adolf Hitler, Nazi Germany, for one. And for two, Obama didn't write it. It was passed down by United Nations.
Yeah, everything was basically passed down by United Nations. If you really look at it nowadays, it just runs similarity right to the United Nations. I mean, basically the MK Ultra program came from the United Nations. If you really look into it, and the Huxleys and everything else. So the problems we're facing today came from the United Nations. That happy little company that is supposed to be saving the world and all that other bull crap.
Circo,
Yeah.
yeah, we were talking about that before. Yeah.
Yeah, nothing but garbage. And you know what? And people don't talk about those things enough. Like companies like Circo coming into America. You know,
The
and
circus
instead of being up in arms
people.
saying, no, you can't come here. Well, no, we're not going to accept your jobs. I don't care if you're giving jobs. I don't care. No, you're getting out. Nobody talks about that. They'd rather talk about a tax plan that no matter which way it goes, we're getting screwed. So it really, you know, people get caught up in, you know, and bullshit that they want you to be distracted by.
Hmm.
Yeah.
You know, Trump, Obama, Hillary, it doesn't really matter. They're going to fuck you.
Well, yeah, they're all working for the same damn entity.
Yeah, don't matter. I mean, does it really as hard as they fuck everybody? Does it really matter who it is?
Yeah.
Because they're, you know, I mean, and then when you're choosing a side or whatever, you're just asking for that. That's the one I want to fuck me. That's all you're doing.
Basically, that's exactly what you're doing. Well, let's see. Do you want John Wayne Gacy, Ted Bundy, or Jeffrey Dahmer to be the one?
So the Federal Reserve controls Obamacare, and you know what? I mean, the World Bank controls the Federal Reserve. The World Bank controls currency everywhere, bro.
You know, like Ron Paul bullshit. The Fed gets audited every year. You can go online and look at their audit. You know, they don't have as much control as they, you know, make it all big round to. And America could just shut it off and it's you know, we have a system set up already that the Federal Reserve is basically redundant, and they want to scare you into the Federal Reserve so you don't focus and understand that the systems that we do have can actually work.
It's a top-down system, man. The way it is, man, is like, you know, think about this. You have a boss, right? Your boss has a boss. His boss has a boss. His boss has a boss.
Scheme.
So on and so on and so on and so on.
It's a
the further you get up the chain, the more power they're going to have over many more people.
It's just like the country, man. I mean, just like the company. I mean, the country is set up like Amway. It's a goddamn pyramid scheme. That's what it is.
Yeah, you know, it's a pyramid scheme. There you go.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hey, sell my soap.
Yeah. That's all it really is. I mean, you look at it. You know, the guy at the top has this big giant soap company. You know, he gets a couple bosses. Hey, you got to recruit more bosses under you, and you're gonna get paid for your bosses, and then they're gonna recruit bosses, and that's all it really is. And next thing you know, you got some guy that, you know, built the factory for the soap that's, you know, is sending all the money up to the top.
Some guy proud he's a pig with lots of money. Yeah, that's something.
That's all it is. It's a pyramid scheme. The easiest way to take out a pyramid scheme is just walk up to the tip of the pyramid, punch it right in the face, and then, you know, say, fuck you.
yeah.
But nobody wants to do it. I've asked many times. I know where George Soros lives, right in New York City. Not New York City, but in Katana, New York. I'll go to his house. I can't run fast. Somebody run fast. You know where George Soros is?
I don't understand this whole thing about, like, you know, I'm going to go protest, or I'm going to vote, that's going to change the system. It's like, there's not going to be any political solutions like that, because you can't fix the problem inside the pyramid, man. I mean, and
think about how easy it is. Like I said,
part of the pyramid,
we get a couple people, we go to take out George Soros. Other people might see it, and then they'll jump on board. I mean, Hillary lives right down the street from George Soros. We could probably knock out two at once. It's really not that
protest is something like I can understand. I mean, even though they put stupid rules in their protest, which pretty much tell you they don't care what you think, but at least you're making your voice heard. But I mean, like all this, you know, you got to vote for the right person. It's like, dude, there's not a right person to vote for. None of them have our best interest in mind.
No, there isn't. You know, I mean, unless people want to start doing things on a grassroots level and really getting in there, and you know, and you know, making somewhat of a change, you know, no change is going to happen, because even at the grassroots level, they're going to have to fight like hell, because they have the Communist Green Party, and we have the CIA infiltrated Liberty Party. So you know, we're, you know.
Well, look what
the
happened
only
with
way
Waco,
anything's going to get fixed.
I'm sure Waco was a psyop too, but I mean, if you look at what happened, like with Waco, man.
You know, we needed. That's why we got to go up to the tip of the pyramid with an AK and take care of it.
And shut that eye.
Yeah.
Not
Had
our
some
eye.
C4 and
His.
the big all-seeing eye.
I don't want to interact with that eye.
I want to give it a
Remember what happened with
black eye
Waco,
first.
Jerry?
Huh?
You know what happened with Waco, Jerry? It might have been a stage stop even further than that, but I don't know. But what I know is there was a group of people, from what I understand, that were. I mean, well, I didn't necessarily agree with their religious philosophy. That's for them to believe. I'm not judging on that. They became self-sufficient, and they were trying to, gear up to protect themselves from, I guess, what they seen as the government fallout and whatnot coming up. But as far as I know, they weren't really hurting anybody or threatening anybody.
No, well, I understood that David Koresh was an MK Ultra loose cannon, and they were getting him back under control. And then they didn't want him, with his knowledge, getting loose.
Oh, hamburger. The big boys are too big, but they're boys.
Well, that's the thing.
They're
Is everybody thinks everything's
boys.
too big. They
They're
eat
not
shit
grown
just like
men. You
everybody
just
else.
use the word. They're little boys.
You just got to catch them off guard. You know what? You might have to sacrifice
boy
yourself. Deal with it.
They think they're a whopper, I'm telling you.
And, that's why these elite are not scared.
We're not
Because
going
they
to
know nobody's
protest.
going to
We're
do
going to
nothing.
anti-test.
You know?
Yeah.
Shit. I said, get me a couple people that are, good enough to get close to George Soros. I'm ready to go. I'll drive. I can't run fast. I'll, get me.
Well,
in right
these people
position.
need
I'll
to start
take 'em
saying,
out.
you know what? Fuck a protest license. Fuck fucking, free speech zones. I'm gonna protest with or without a license wherever the fuck I want to.
Well, there should be. In theory, we should have that right. And there was a court case earlier this year where that went to court, and the people that got arrested for not having a license to protest or whatever ended up winning like $3 million or whatever.
Yeah.
And they don't talk about that in the news because they don't want you to know there's been
They
precedents set.
they don't want you to know
They
that
don't want you to know that.
people on the side of the law.
So don't ever let them think that you can't have a free right to protest whenever you want, wherever you want, because you do. Let them arrest you, then you sue them.
Mm-hmm.
That's all you do. There's precedents now. That's what needs to happen. Matter of fact, people should go out there, hoping to get arrested and protesting in weird spots. That way we can sue them more. Because, it seems like a lot of times one place a lot of these people can get hurt the most is in their wallet because that's all they seem to care about.
This is how asleep the public is, man. Remember a few years ago when John Kerry was running against, I believe it was against George Bush, and this guy stands up in the John Kerry rally, and he asks him about his skull and bones connection. And John Kerry, of course, people didn't realize he kind of pulled his ear, kind of signified Secret Service to take him down. And they're tasing the shit out of this dude just for asking a question, right? And the people looked at this, and rather than asking the logical question that, hey, if he wasn't onto something, why is he being tased just for asking a question? No, they're not smart enough to ask that. No, you know what they do? They make a meme out of that and laugh about it. This is how stupid our society is, bro. I mean, you can be right there in front of their face, and they'll just make a meme and laugh at it.
They're weak. They're weak.
Yeah.
They have their meme factory.
They're brainwashed. They're brainwashed.
They got their meme factory and all the dum-dums out here that just go, oh, yeah, it's a meme.
Well, that's the thing is they don't even realize our military has a meme. They call it a meme
It's
factory.
called a flat thought. A meme is a flat thought.
Oh, no, it's flat.
The guy was being tased for asking a question, man. If that doesn't spell tyranny, what does?
Well, it's
flat. What can I say? It's flat.
Nowadays with our politicians, we don't even know if it was intentionally set up so he can be just to scare people like that. We don't even know. The problem is our government lies so goddamn much. We don't get to hear the truth. I tell you what, we need to test the ground. We need to get people out there testing the ground to see how far they're going to go because that tyranny will show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's time to get out the Rubbermaid.
Well, what you noticed in this too, Matt, is because with all these identity politics flying left and right, people are gravitating towards the far left or the far right. And what's happening, man, is you get these people on the far extremes who are actually dumb enough to actually pull for despotism and tyranny and dictatorship in various forms. Like in the right, they support the Nazis, and the left they support communism.
I mean, if you look at it, I mean, even with the policies that Trump's going along with, it's all going towards communism. That's anything less than the republic is communism. Democracy is communism.
Yeah.
That's all it is.
You know. Yeah. What the Democratic Party is they're communists. They can't actually come out and call themselves communists. So they use the Democratic label.
No, yeah, but they're communist. It's communist. But you got to understand, both sides are. That's the point. Is people don't understand that because they're going along with the same policies, basically.
Yes.
You know, and the country is communism hidden by the idea of capitalism, but it's not capitalism because it's not like if you did really well or worked really hard, you can make it to the top.
Yeah, that's those days are gone.
Yeah.
You know,
Correct.
I mean,
That's correct.
So, I mean,
Yeah.
therefore, it's
that.
communism hidden by the face of capitalism. It's not capitalism.
Communism in a nutshell is we're going to remove the glass ceiling by lowering the glass ceiling so that everybody hits the glass ceiling a lot sooner.
They
At the same time.
These kids are hitting the glass ceiling before they even get into work.
Yeah,
I mean,
they don't even get the first foot in the door.
It's all
Yeah,
smudged up.
Yeah,
you know.
that's where you get you. Like I say, yeah. I mean, I really do feel sorry for. I mean, as much as I would like to think we need to be making more babies because they want less people, so the opposite fight of that would be making more babies. But when you see what's actually going on, who the hell would want to bring a kid into this world?
Yeah, they would just treat them as hors d'oeuvres.
They are.
Yeah, tell me about it. They'll put them on the buffet line, won't they?
Mm-hmm.
You know, and it's an interesting thing to note. Like all this liberalism and communism stuff is primarily only happening in mostly white westernized nations. I'd probably say pretty much predominantly in only white westernized nations.
Well, sometimes we don't even know
I mean,
what's going on. I mean, look at Africa. We got troops there, and nobody even knows about it.
Yeah.
You had 4 that were killed over there in Africa, and nobody was even talking. I didn't even know that at that time that we had troops over there, in multiple places already fighting. So we got people there. I mean, it's we need to know more about what we're not hearing about. A lot of times we're not hearing. There's too much we're not hearing about that I'm sure is going on.
Yeah, that's being hidden.
But they got us distracted by so much bullshit, fake, false flag bullshit, shootings, all kinds of crap. Just stupid shit that nobody's really looking into. Probably some important matters that are going on in the world that we're not hearing about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's exactly
and
what's going
I
on.
feel because you introduced this topic, this program, True Force Loneliness, as part of the division between men and women. That's the heart of it. That's just the heart of it, what's happening.
Yeah. That's going to be one of the things that's going to draw a lot of a bigger wedge between men and women in the coming generations. I can definitely say that. Especially a lot of these young guys coming up, man, because it's happening to a lot more and more and more young men now, and nobody's going to take it seriously until it gets to a point where it's like 1 in 3, 1 in 4 men that are living TFL, and they start getting violent and shit. I'm not supporting violence, and don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's the right way to go.
No, it's
some of these guys are going to get violent,
TFM?
Towards violence against the elite.
Hang on.
If we keep on emasculating people, they're never going to fight back their masters. We got to fight back against the slave masters. If we preach nonviolence, with slave masters out there, you're always going to have a slave master. That's simple as that.
DFM just brought up a good point, which was, it's not so much trying to bring down the elite, but to wake the people up. And I don't know if either is viable, but my thought is that the asleep are actually kind of like a mini elite. Do you know what I mean? Because they're kind of like becoming like them.
They are becoming like them. And the other problem is these awake programs they have out there. They're waking them up and towards their new agenda. And I see almost every awake person out there falling into that new age agenda, all the shit that they planned for them. So waking up people is probably a bad idea at this point.
And by design, these people are becoming more like the elites too, because the more they train the populace into their own image, and they train the populace to worship them and shit, all this other shit, the less resistance they're going to get from people, and the more they can come out with all their dirty and nefarious and degenerate bullshit out in the public, because they've got the public trained to accept that stuff and to go along with it now.
Well, since they're all going down that path, the psychopath.
Yeah, I'll go back to what I said a few weeks ago on the show. They always make the despot will always make their servant complicit in their own crimes.
Well, you know what? I've even noticed that it seems like there's been a slowdown in people waking up lately. You know, there was like a normal kind of a little bit of a pace of people waking up, but I'm not seeing that pace out there anymore. I'm seeing it's just. And the reason why is people are getting swept up in this left-wing, right-wing identity politics shit, and people on both sides are falling back to the government as their daddy, you know.
Well, they're still playing black and white squares. They're still believing it. That, you know, that there's goodies and baddies, and they don't realize they're the same thing.
Yeah. Still doing jumping.
They don't realize they're the same thing. Yeah.
They're still doing their hopscotch. I know.
The people still think that there's sides.
Well, we got to stop playing their game. You know, we got to play our game, and that's the thing. They're trying to draw people into their game, whatever it is, whatever game they're playing and whatever level they're on. They bring people in different levels, different parts of their game, but it's their game.
Yeah.
And as long as we continue to play the game, we lose. It's their game.
Yeah.
So we gotta play. We gotta play our own game and use their weapons. Use our own thoughts and our own minds,
and create our own weapons and our own plan.
We outthink
that is not even about their game.
Use a little black magic on them and throw it back in their face.
Woo!
What's weird is when I was younger. Before my grandmother died, she said she put a curse on any woman that would ever treat me bad. And I've never had to be like angered at any woman that's ever treated me bad for some reason. Every time there's ever been a woman that treated me bad things had come to her. Bad luck, bad everything.
What? Can she adopt me?
She's passed away now, but I remember I don't know why she told me that. I remember before she died, she said she put a curse on any woman that ever did me wrong. And any woman that ever has did me wrong has gone to jail, just had bad luck.
Wow.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's actually a good thing. Now if we could just put a curse on the parasites in our society here, that every time they have a parasitic thought, that something bad happens to them.
Yeah. Well, maybe we'll do that. I'll figure it out. Maybe I can drum up some grandma's.
I like your pronunciation of that word, Bill. Parasite.
Yes, sir. Parasite.
Emphasis on the site. Yeah.
Well, I mean, what? Dual-sided, two-sided.
Yeah.
Well, a lot of them are two-faced anyhow, right?
Two eyes, great. A parasite's got two eyes. We got enough trouble with one of them.
Yeah.
Well, hold on. I'll get my pen and poke one out.
And Hamburger is saying, in the UK, people are very materialistic here and are in debt. In the UK, if you go down a working class or a lower middle class street, half of the cars are Jaguar, BMW, Mercedes, Land Rovers, and Audis.
Same here in the U.S. Now you got people that are trying to live beyond their means to put on this false impression. They're trying to look like they're wealthier than they are. And the reason why they do that, I'm gonna tell you why. It goes back to hypergamy, which relates back to TFL and all that stuff. Even if they're not TFL themselves, like a lot of these guys, they want to look wealthier than they are in order to attract women and shit like that. That's a big part of it.
Yeah, small
penis.
Yeah.
Sorry,
they put themselves in a hole. They buy shit they can't afford. It puts themselves in a hole. Enough guys do this. Enough people do this. It drives the economy down further because now more people are in debt.
Yeah, you know what? Well, you know what? It's a lot of it too, and you see in poor neighbors is maybe not because the family unit wasn't put together and they didn't, grow up with, a parent saying this is how you handle a checkbook, this is how you handle this, and this is how you put some rainy day money away, this is how, and some of that goes to, a lot of the leftovers of the social conditioning.
Yeah.
Changing the
mindset.
mindset.
I mean, it's like Hamburger was just saying. He said also in the UK, 8% preteens and teenagers are wearing brain dead and designer clothes head to toe. And in moderation, materialism is good, and it's nice to have nice things. I get what he's saying. It's okay to want to have nice things and to work towards having nice things, and nobody should be judged negatively for that. But some people, it goes back to an old saying, do you own your possessions or do your possessions own you? And that's the ultimate question that a person has to ask themselves.
Well, I like when I lost everything, now I shop at, the thrift store. So all my clothes, I'm just as happy with thrift store stuff as I am with, name brand stuff. I don't think I would know what to do with myself in the mall.
Why would you want to go buy designer jeans and spend all that money on a pair of designer jeans when you can go down to the thrift store and spend $2 and have a pair of nice jeans? Oh.
That's what I'm saying, man. I don't understand the point of paying all this extra money for a damn name brand label, and I can buy just as good clothes a lot cheaper.
And all you are is a walking billboard for a designer.
Well, that's part of the program.
Label. Bugger that.
You're supporting the New World agenda.
Yeah. Bugger that.
There's nothing wrong with getting nice stuff. But
consumerism. There you are. Consume.
What's more important?
Yeah.
And the thing is, Jaguars and all that means people are impressed by that bullshit. I'm not.
Jaguars are crap anyways. I mean, I've driven them. And once they break down, you can't fix them. They're just a pain in the ass.
I don't know. I was thinking if I got out my hunter's rifle and went Jaguar hunting, I mean, What are you hunting? I'm hunting Jaguar.
Jaguar, I hate to say it, but the UK makes the worst cars. They make the Land Rover and Jaguar. They are nothing but garbage. They're horrible vehicles. America used to build good cars. Pre 80s, we built the best, and then that we lost that. Deciding that we're going to be in competition with the Asian market, and that went to hell. But we stopped building quality. We used to build the best. Now, now some of the European cars are not they're not bad, and the Asian cars seem to do very well.
Yeah,
we still build good cars, under the Honda name and stuff like that here in America. But
Off-Grid Messiah, he says, with modern technology, why would I buy a piece of shit house in the neighborhood when I could buy land and have all the amenities and more? I think he was talking about like what I said about what we were saying about why we need to buy these name brand clothes. We can get just as good clothes for cheaper. I think he's trying to make an analogy. That's what I take from him. Maybe I got it wrong. But assuming that's the case, the way I look at that is, man, I wouldn't even need that much land. I mean, I'd be happy with a flat out in an old country suburb, man, and just kind of stick to myself, man. I mean, I don't need anything fancy.
I've seen the way that life lived, and I've rarely met happier people in those wealthy houses. They're usually not happy. Middle class and even some poor people I've met. Some of the poorest families I've met are some of the happiest families I've met.
Yeah, me too.
When they're not riddled with drugs,
Yeah.
That's the other problem. I mean, if you take drugs out of society, you're going to see a lot of bad neighborhoods with a lot of happy people.
Yeah.
That too. I mean, here's the thing: a damaged person can't always be rescued. Sometimes, I mean, that's just the raw facts of life. But there's something to bear in mind is when you go into a lot of these bad neighborhoods, some of these people, man, with drug problems and stuff like that, were once normal people, and
they're not always bad people.
No.
Yeah, they're not always bad people.
And
you know,
when
we got to blame our
when we
government for
use the
supplying
word
this country with
poor,
way too many drugs.
when
Whether it's
we
from Big Pharma or from the CIA.
when we use the word poor, you know, I mean, that's because we're putting a value on pieces of paper. And if you have lots and lots and lots of pieces of paper, you're apparently rich. No.
No, you're not. You know,
No.
you just have more stuff.
Yeah.
Stuff
Yeah.
that can, you know, that and stuff. All stuff does is kind of just weigh you down.
It piles up, and then people get stupid, and they think, well, I'm going to move to another state. Well, hold on, let me go down and get this U-Haul truck or rent this truck, and I just spent $4,000 running in a truck to take your shit with you. You could have went down.
I have so much stuff.
You could have climbed in your car, went on down there, and freaking replaced everything you had for a fraction of that, and left the truck behind.
Yeah.
Besides,
Stuff.
yes, Carol.
Stuff, yep. You got to take it with you everywhere you go. When you die, you're not taking it with you. What do you do with them?
Yeah.
Get stuffed.
Yeah, because you're gonna get buried in your car, right?
That's right. That's right. When I die, I'm going to die in my truck, and I want you to bury me with my truck and my computer because I'm going online.
Yeah.
I'm getting stuffed.
Yeah, she's getting stuffed. You know, Thanksgiving. I mean, the turkey stuffed. I think Thanksgiving next year, I should get a turkey and I should put all of my stuff inside the turkey.
There you go. I could say something to that, but it would be so wrong. So wrong.
Okay, let's not go there.
No, please don't take me there.
Don't put me in that spot. No.
You know, the more I think about, I mean, like you were in a situation, yeah, right, but culturally we're kind of pushing that scenario where I guess we do kind of celebrate holidays, but when you start to think about all these holidays, they don't mean what people think they mean, man. Like,
but that doesn't mean it doesn't mean we should take them away and not celebrate the few things that we do to get together with family. You know, it's actually.
Oh yeah, I agree to that.
Yeah,
but I mean, like, you know, a lot of these times, a lot of people don't even really know the true origin behind these things.
No. And
well, yeah, I understand that.
We actually shouldn't, like, on, you know, you see all the memes telling the truth about Easter or Christmas and that. We actually shouldn't do that, even though it may be the truth, because I think more importantly, it is better to promote the gathering of the family and promote the family unit in the little time that we have left before it's all destroyed. So, you know, I mean, as much as these celebrations are bullshit and this and that, they're kind of important now because, you know, you're going to start to see less and less of this family gathering type of stuff.
That is true.
Yeah.
You know, I would agree with that because if you could promote the family getting together, that would help at least to bring some of the families back together.
We're going to have the Trans Strong festivals.
Oh, Trans Strong. Okay, yep, there you go.
Yeah.
I got a question, and you don't have to answer it. It's going to take a little while. But Hamburger, you live in London. A lot of Russians in London right now. That's what I heard.
There's a lot of Russians on the East Coast now. That's
Not
interesting.
Just curious.
I'm sure
you said that before that you were hearing there were some Russians in the UK, a lot of them.
Yeah, a lot of money now. A lot of pieces of paper.
Yeah. Yeah, man. I mean, you know, that too, one of the reasons why Europeans are in better health than Americans are is because Europeans do a lot more walking. They do a lot more running and jogging. People in America, they ride around everywhere. They jog around, or they ride around everywhere. They drive everywhere. They don't get as much exercise on average because, like, people in Europe, man, you know, they walk a lot.
And bikes, walks, and bikes.
Oh, God, I used to do that all the time. I mean...
Same in Australia.
I used to go walking all the time. I would go walk just to walk.
Yeah. I was really shocked when I came here and someone would, like, you know, you park your car and then you go to walk to the little store
and then
Yeah, they drive.
and then they have to get back in the car to drive it 2 blocks over, 2 little lanes over to get to the next store. I'm like, no, you just walk there. It's like it's 2 stores away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
insanity. That's like, well, I went shopping at the end of the block, got in my car, and drove 5 feet so I could park to walk 2 feet.
Well, and that's where people's attachments in this country to their possessions.
Yeah.
They can't. They're so scared of losing their possessions. It prevents them from doing lots of things.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why I'm saying
Yeah.
it's a great thing when I lost a lot of possessions when the police took my possessions, because it gave me the freedom to say, "Fuck it." Now
I
they got
love the
nothing. They
solid
got nothing.
silence.
Nothing to hold me back from fighting.
Lebanon. Beautiful place.
It's so it's nice. I mean, you can't be tied to these possessions. That's why I sometimes dream of some kind of EMP or some kind of devastation happening in this country where people all of a sudden wake up and realize their possessions aren't important, because then they'll start to fight. That's why everybody's like so scared. World War III. So I'd love to see something break out where the shit hit the fan, because that's what's needed to make a change.
Wealthy Russians in London, huh?
Yeah, this sounds like the Russian mob. The Russian mob's worse than the Italian mob. Let me tell you something. They don't joke around.
Yeah.
Perth, mate. I got friends in Perth, relatives in Perth. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it's crazy, man. It's like, I mean, if you think about the whole mafia thing, man, like, it's weird because the government, right, they own the gangs and they own the police. So it's like, it's weird. Like, sometimes if you look at areas where, like, order is breaking down enough, and it's chaotic enough, like seriously high crime rate areas that are run by gangs, there are areas where pretty much, like, the gangs are the fucking police.
They are.
More or less.
Yeah, they are. They are. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at Detroit, I don't know if it's still that way, but I know it was once Detroit initially fell to shit, man.
It's horrible.
The police were afraid to go in there, man. They'll tell you when you go in there, man, you're on your own at a certain point, because it'll take the police like an hour and a half. The FBI didn't even want to go in.
You know what? I've been in there, and Detroit's bad, but there's parts of New York that I think are more dangerous than Detroit. But it's just the way Detroit is. I mean, you got to, I mean, it's not dangerous if you know where you're going and you're not being stupid. But Detroit is a mess. I mean, I've seen what they would do in like a lot of the drug houses and stuff. They would, right before when you open the door, they would cut the floorboards and everything out. So if the police ever came running to through the door, there would just be a hole there, and they would have like old-fashioned Vietnamese like traps with spikes sticking up, and police would just fall in the holes and right into these traps and get all, cut up and broken and, probably dead and all kinds of shit. They don't play around. They don't play around in Detroit. I know that from living in Michigan. It's crazy. Crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, you just see blocks that look like one burnt house after another burnt house after another burnt house. They're not doing that.
It's America's first third world city, man.
Yeah. I mean, it's sad. I mean, and then I mean, you can see some of the old, beautiful houses. And there's a lot of these neighborhoods where actually they're so bad, the houses are actually beautiful. They're just all falling apart because when all these big 3 automakers were there producing a lot, the city was doing fantastic.
See, here's my thing. Here's my thing. If the situation in Detroit, I don't know how bad it is now, but if it continues to spread and it continues to get out of hand with the drug war and all this shit, then I could see this as being a ploy for the government to be able to live posse comitatus.
Yeah, but I mean, they're knocking over stuff. I mean, it's not really spreading. I mean, it seems to stay in its own little pockets. I haven't seen Detroit really spreading much. I think they're hurting other cities like, I mean, the scam they had going up in Flint, because, I mean, Michigan sits on one of the largest aquifers in this country, and they don't even need to get water from the lakes or from the river anywhere. They can tap it right under their feet, and they don't. The water that they need is right under their feet, and they're not getting it. It's pathetic.
No, this is what happens when you got some greedy, hungry mother, excuse my language, who thinks they need to buy up all the water rights so that they can use it as a weapon against you, the people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you just all turn your back and look the other way, huh?
And the crazy thing is, even when you talk about Flint, the water's not even that. The water table under Michigan is not, because Michigan was all covered by glaciers. So there's all glacier water that went underground, formed in aquifers, and the water is not even that deep under the ground. In theory, if they just let people start drilling their own wells, they would literally only have to drill feet to get to the water table that they need of the clean water. They could probably put up a small well in every one of the neighborhoods or in certain areas. They put up 3 or 5 of them and give free clean water to everybody, or put one major one and supply the city directly. But they're not doing it, and that's just laziness because it would be cheaper than what they're doing.
Yeah.
And that's how evil these people are. They're poisoning people when there's no reason whatsoever to do. Not only that, they're controlling the agenda and controlling the talk about it, so that people aren't even talking about this.
Well, this is what they do when they poison people. They convince them that they need them to put this extra chemical in their water that they don't need, and they come up with any number of excuses. They make up some bullshit reason why this chemical is good, and the people just believe whatever the government tells them without question. They know what they're saying. They not take care of us.
If the TV set told them, they know it's got to be true. It came out of my television. That's really what it comes down to. The mentality is nuts.
So here's the government saying, okay, well, we need to put arsenic in your water because X, Y, Z. I mean, I'm not sure they put arsenic in it yet, but I'm just saying.
No, they're going to put water in your arsenic.
Put fluoride in the water.
That's right.
With the corrosion of all the pipes and everything else, I'm sure there's some arsenic in the water.
Yeah, don't worry. Arsenic's good for you. We did some new research, and this research shows that the arsenic will improve your health.
They did some excellent research at the Rockefeller Foundation and found that arsenic's good for you.
There you go.
Yeah.
But hey, guys, with that being said, our show's pretty much up for the night.
No.
Wow. Well, they went fast.
Yeah, what didn't it?
They went fast.
But we will be back here. What's that?
I said, hurry up and end it. I got to go pee.
Yeah, we'll do that. But hey, we will be back.
Water rights.
I'll be back here with Jerry on Sunday night. And then I'll be back here with Anna again on Monday night. Yeah, Sundays and Mondays. Yeah. And hey, Anna, I appreciate you being here. I really do. And I hope you TFL guys out there understand, Anna. She's here to stay. She's not going nowhere. Gotta stop the division. But we're gonna call it quits for the night, and I'll see y'all again next week.
Okie dokie.
So y'all have a good one.
Toodles.